In everyday life, ancient Egyptians used a 365-day civil calendar. In sacred life, a lunar calendar. And they took Sirius as their reference. The lunar was the first to be used. Days according to the phases of the moon, already suggested in pre-dynastic contexts and with evidence of its use in the Ramesside period. Each month lasted 29 or 30 days, and, as the classical interpretation, began in the morning after the waning crescent moon was no longer visible. Although there is debate as to whether the beginning could have been the first evening crescent moon. The months had named days used for religious purposes and festivals. On the 1st, the new moon. Around the 15th, the full moon. Thus, homes and fields followed the phases to orient themselves. For millennia, the rhythm of festivals and offerings was determined by lunar months. The monthly names refer to major festivals within that month. Since the lunar year is shorter, they would add an extra month from time to time to keep the festivals in the correct season. While the civil organized the work, the lunar gave pulse to the sacred time of Egypt. In ancient Egypt, religion was not only for temples and priests. It also lived inside the home. Families created small household altars, with protective gods like Tawaret or Bes. As finds at Deir el-Medina show, offerings were simple: bread, beer, water, flowers, everyday gifts to seek health and protection, and of course, personal amulets to protect body and soul. Scarabs, eyes of Horus, and countless charms were part of daily life. Prayers were whispered at home. Personal religion gave ordinary people a direct link with the divine, while grand temples honored the gods of the state. In the heart of each home, faith was alive, humble, personal, eternal. Ancient Egyptian temples were not always massive stone monuments. Archaeology reveals post holes and foundations in the desert soil. From such remains, we know that in the earliest times, sanctuaries were modest huts of wood and reeds, adorned with painted reed mats, sacred standards, and emblems of the gods. Over time, fragile reed shrines were rebuilt in mud brick. More solid, yet still modest, they marked the first step toward permanence. Decoration became part of the walls themselves. Facades shaped with niches, plastered and painted in simple colors, echoing the woven mats of earlier shrines. Gradually, stone replaced fragile materials, giving temples strength and permanence. Decoration flourished. Walls carved with reliefs and inscriptions, columns inscribed with royal names, and painted ceilings filled with stars, turning temples into eternal canvases of devotion. In the New Kingdom, temples reached monumental scale. Towering pylons, vast halls of columns, and walls entirely covered with colorful reliefs, turning architecture into a cosmos of stone. In the late and Ptolemaic periods, temples became ever more ornate. Walls densely carved, columns with elaborate floral capitals, and ceilings painted with stars and zodiac signs, echoing tradition while reaching new levels of decoration. From simple shrines to sacred palaces, each temple tells a story. Which ones are your favorite? In ancient Egypt, from poems on papyri to magical spells, words of affection were preserved for millennia. From the 19th dynasty, the Harris Papyrus preserves tender love songs, where lovers compare beauty to the brightness of stars. In Deir el-Medina, love songs were written with passion. My heart is not still, it longs to be with you. Also in Deir el-Medina, love found simpler forms. On ostraka, fragments of limestone or pottery, workers scribbled verses of affection in their everyday life. Even diplomacy used the language of love. In the Amarna letters, foreign kings wrote to the pharaoh. These texts were written not in Egyptian, but in Akkadian cuneiform, the international language of diplomacy. From papyri to ostraca, from the words of kings to the verses of workers, Egypt shows us that love is timeless. In ancient Egypt, makeup wasn't just about adornment. It was about beauty and protection. Kohl, made from minerals such as galena and malachite, protected the eyes from the desert sun and infections. Its dark line reduced glare and acted as a shield against eye diseases and insect bites. Oils from barberry, moringa, castor, sesame, flax, and later olive were perfumed, mixed with flowers and resins, to moisturize the skin and protect it from heat and dryness. They were not just fragrances. Papyri described them as skin medicine and also as ritual offerings to the gods. From the temple to the home, cosmetics were part of daily life and sacred life. In ancient Egypt, caring for the body also meant protecting the spirit. In ancient Egypt, fire was divine. The solar cobra, the Uraeus, personified in deities like Wepset, she who burns, was believed to breathe flame from the eye of Ra to protect against chaos. Also, protective goddesses, like Taweret, raised the torch of fire to light the path through darkness of the Duat, and to warm and guard from evil spirits pregnant women. In the books of the dead and the gates, the lake of fire appeared. For the enemies of Osiris and Ra, it was burning punishment. For the righteous, its waters were cool and life-giving. Fire carried offerings to the gods. On temple braziers, bread, ducks, and incense burned, their smoke rising as a bridge between human and divine. In Egypt's temples, fire did more than feed the gods. In rites of execration, especially against Apep, Apophis, priests inscribed enemy names or molded them in wax, then spat on them, trampled, pierced, and cast them into the brazier. The flames erased the name and the threat, upholding Ma'at. At funerals, braziers burned resins and incense, purifying the passage to the Duat. The smoke fed both gods and ancestors. Fire also shaped daily life. Workers baked bread in clay ovens, fired pottery, and melted copper and gold for tools and jewels. In homes, small braziers brought warmth, light, and simple meals. Fire was carefully guarded, a living presence at the heart of the household. They sparked new flames by friction. Fire drills were known in Egypt, and kept the household fire alive in portable braziers. In kitchens and workshops, charcoal, brush, and even dung kept the heat steady. For the Egyptians, fire was dual. It could nurture or destroy, purify or punish. It was divine flame, earthly tool, and eternal symbol of life. In ancient Egypt, death did not separate the living from the dead. During festivals like Beautiful Festival of the Valley, families would go to the graves with bread and beer. During the Beautiful Festival of the Valley, the Egyptians crossed the Nile and walked the paths of the necropolises to meet their ancestors. They arrived at each grave with flowers, bread, beer, and wine to offer and share a symbolic banquet. It was a moment when the living and the dead shared, if only for a few hours, a space of memory and communion. On the other hand, the elites displayed eternal banquets in their tombs, overflowing tables, music, and wine. In any case, more than eating, it was about ensuring abundance for the afterlife. Sharing the banquet was to keep the bonds alive, beyond death. Celebrating with the dead was to remember, unite, and perpetuate.